Good morning, world. Cece here. Hey, today I want to talk about something people don't say out loud very often. Growth can be lonely. Now, I am very passionate about this, so I might start talking too fast or get too loud, but here it goes. So, when you start working on yourself, your mindset, your habits, your goals, it could even be just weight loss. Something interesting begins to happen. You may not fit into the same spaces you used to. Friends might not understand. Family might not understand. And sometimes the people around you may even question what you are doing. But here's something I've been reflecting on lately. As I look back at my own life, nobody was standing behind me pushing me to become something. I didn't have someone waking me up saying, "Go chase your dreams." I didn't have a personal coach telling me to push harder. I didn't have a trainer saying, "Get up and exercise." Most of the time, it was just me. And here's another truth we sometimes forget. Most people aren't paying nearly as much attention to us as we think they are. And I don't mean that in a negative way, it's just reality. Everyone is busy living their own life, dealing with their own challenges, writing their own story. You might have a friend who cheers you on during a 10-minute phone call, but once that conversation ends, you're still just the one responsible for what happens next. And even though I've thought on one level or another since childhood about different growth opportunities, I really started getting into personal development back in 2004. At that time, I had reached the end of my, one chapter of my life, and I knew something had to change. So at that time, I went to an 8-day motivational seminar, and honestly, at that time, it changed my life. It really did. But if I'm being honest, over time, I slowly drifted back into old habits, old thinking, old patterns. I let what people say affect me. And that happens to a lot of us. You get inspired, you feel motivated, you make some changes, then life slowly pulls you back into what's familiar. Most recently, I've gone to a few Tony Robbins events and I started diving back into motivational talks again. And every time you come back from something like that, people ask you the same question. How was it? And you start explaining. You start sharing what you've learned, what it meant to you, what it, made you think about. And about 2 minutes into the conversation, they're off to the next topic. Now, that's not because people don't care about you. They do. But most people aren't on the same level of depth in that moment. They've got their own responsibilities, their own problems, their own priorities. So the conversation moves on. And that's okay. And if you're the one trying to grow, trying to change, trying to build something better, that can feel a little lonely. But here's what I've realized lately. That loneliness is actually part of the process because ultimately, this journey is mine anyway, and it's yours too. One of the things I listen to almost every day is a motivational channel on YouTube called Motoversity. And one of my favorite talks on there has been called "Nobody is Coming to Save You." And the first time you really hear that message, it can hit you pretty hard. But the more I thought about it, the more freeing it became. Because the truth is, it's my life. It's my choices. And most definitely, it's my responsibility. No one's coming to rescue you. Not your friends, not your family, not luck. And once you truly accept that, something powerful happens. Because the moment you stop waiting for someone else to change your life is the moment you start taking responsibility for yourself. So there's something you want in your life, a healthy body, a different career, a new direction, a stronger version of yourself. Maybe it's a soulmate, Maybe it's, you have to stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Seriously, enough of that. If something matters to you, start doing the work. Start learning. Start researching. Start taking the steps. Because the only person who can move your life forward is you. And when you start doing that work, something else happens. You might find yourself in a strange place, a place where you don't quite belong in your old life anymore. But your new life hasn't fully formed yet. And that space in the middle can be lonely. But here's what I'm figuring out. That loneliness isn't failure. It's growth. You're shedding old habits, old thinking, old patterns, and sometimes even old environments. And that kind of change takes courage. I spent a lot of years blaming my past, feeling sorry for myself, saying things like, well, my parents did this or that to me or this happened. But here's the reality. Everyone has a story. Everyone has something that they've had to overcome. And at some point, we all reach the same crossroads. And that's the moment where we stop telling the story and start writing a new one. So if you find yourself in a season where you feel a little out of place, a little misunderstood, or a little alone on the path you're choosing, that might actually be a sign that you're growing. Because real growth doesn't always happen in a crowd. Sometimes, and most times, it happens quietly, when no one else fully understands the work you're doing on yourself. But the person you're becoming on the other side of that lonely season, it's worth it. So as always, take care of your mind, and the rest has a better chance of falling into place. Until next time, this is Cece, and this is Cece Talks Life, real talk, real life.